And then we have this interesting conundrum here. We've got this, something seems screwy here. Okay, so here's what I don't get. This gear I know goes on here because I took it off of here. This gear clearly is cast and made in a way so that there's a hole here. Now, this gear is fixed to this bushing, and there's a key right there, key stock, okay? So if this gear is on here anyways, because of the key stock like that, right? You guys with me so far? Then why the heck is there a metal pin that goes in a hole right here? That engages that. In other words, I think this has been modified. I don't think when this was originally made, I don't think the intention was to have this key stock here. The reason why I say that is because if the key stock wasn't there, when this gear came out like this far, and that pin disengaged that hole, this could actually freewheel from this. But why? Why? Well, I think I should get the other cover I took off way back when, because I noticed when I bought this thing, there was some sort of a, almost like a control you could move in and out. And my theory is that the original intent was for you to be able to disengage this entire drive. In other words, if you were just doing like a facing operation or something, and you didn't want the drive running and you just wanted the headstock running, that you could actually literally just pull this lever and cause this whole drivetrain to shut down, not be wearing. You know, if this thing was running in a shop all day long and they ran into a situation where they had an operation where they just didn't need it, you know, maybe drilling something, I don't know, doing a bunch of drilling operations. You know, I'm just trying to think outside the box here as to why you would want to shut down this whole drivetrain. Well, noise for one thing, but I mean, if it was in a factory, you probably wouldn't be concerned about that. I'm thinking it's more for wear purposes, to minimize wear. But let's go look at get that stuff. There. My memory's foggy. There's no lever on the back of this. It must be on the back of the headstock. This just goes, that shaft goes through this slotted hole. The hole is slotted so that to compensate for when you change this gear to that 69 tooth gear. This is supposed to be way up here like this, and then this goes on like this. There we go. Okay, and you can see that casting is going to cover the gear over here. So where the heck is this thing that I was imagining? I could have sworn that I saw something like that on here. That's bugging me now. I guess I can throw this cover in the parts washer. Well, it's just about quitting time for this evening. It's probably close to 10 o'clock, if not after. I just finished cleaning this. Boy, was this cover filthy. This down in here was just loaded with trash. So we'll have to get that headstock up here on the bench and start thinking about what kind of attention we're going to give to that soon. And then maybe we'll revisit how that drivetrain works. And maybe we'll take a quick peek right now. Yeah, there it is. There's the thing I was thinking about. There's yet another cover here on the back of the headstock. And then what you got is right on the back of the headstock there's a gear that's attached to the spindle. And then that drives an intermediate gear here, which drives this
gear here, which drives the shaft with this gear on it, which drives everything down below. But this thing right here, it's kind of stuck now, but there's a way to move this brass piece right here in and out, almost to engage and disengage the drive. So you can see, yeah, that makes even more sense that it would be here, because with that, you disengage that, and then literally the spindle's the only thing turning. Hey everybody, I was using the loader to move the whole apron assembly and saddle assembly, the whole apron and saddle assembly over to the bulkhead to get down to the basement. And then when I lifted it up and I had it like this, I realized, wow, it's a perfect opportunity to do some disassembly so I can do some further working of this, because this thing's way too big for me to get into my parts washer. And rather than make a mess all over the shop floor like I've been doing all winter, I figured I'll take off some of the components here. I had it under a tarp all winter and it was under a ton of snow, but it actually fared pretty well. There was so much oil on this that it protected this from a lot of rust. Places where it did flash rust, unfortunately the areas that actually make contact with the top of the ways, so we'll clean those up. This is all just encrusted with thick gunk dirt and oil that has had dirt stick to it for years. So I'm going to want to clean that up and get clean oil on it. So for starters, to do some of the easy stuff, I'll take off this clamping part here, this clamping part here. Probably take off this bracket so it doesn't get broken, and the hand wheel especially, because this is so heavy in this direction, it has a tendency to want to come down on the hand wheel. The hand wheel also kind of rusted, but again, I can clean that up easily. I'll tackle the hand wheel first. So there's the locking knob that engages the drive or disengages it. It's just a narrow knob. That just unscrews, and then there's a long rod with a beveled end to it. Yeah, so I don't know whether or not this is a spanner nut that's got a little hole in it to engage, for the wrench to engage or not. It's got the telltale chisel mechanic signs. And no, it wasn't me this time. Short ones here. Alternate from one to the other. It's funny that initially loosened up easily and now it's getting tight. Threads are a little damaged on the end there. Guess I should put a puller on there. I'm sure it's not too tight. I hope it's not too tight. I just finished getting the handle off and realized that I didn't turn the camera back on, but you didn't miss much. So I just moved that hand wheel, and now I'm going to remove a few choice things that are easy to get to while it's up in the air here, and then I'll lower it down. And this bolt on the top here is what locks the carriage. And on the Hendy, it doesn't work. And I see now that the way it works is it threads into a threaded hole here on this clamp. But on the Hendy, I think this hole is just a through hole. So I'm not sure whether or not this piece is not the original one, that the Hendy is missing this original piece, and just start something else on there if that hole's stripped out. But at least now I know how this works, so when I go to put the Hendy back together, I can maybe do something to fix that feature. When you're done riding, listen, when you're done riding, park it over here, okay?
What is that, Daddy?
Part for my lathe.
Why do you have to break up in pieces?
To clean it easier. That's really dirty. There's a lot of dirt trapped in here. And it's just going to be easier for me to put it onto the lathe.
When are you gonna paint this?
I'm not going to paint this one. I'm just going to clean it.
Why?
My camera's on. Standing right behind it. Why? Because I don't have time. I want to use this lathe. I'm tired of waiting to use it. There are two 9/16 bolts right here that hold on a retaining plate that is what keeps the half nut in place. That half nut is filthy. These are very loose. Those two short bolts right there keep this little plate captive. With that little plate loose, I can actually lift right up on this. Oh, it's actually got a bevel on it right there. It's almost like a jib. This is the bottom half of the half nut and the top half, and there's pins that ride in these slots on this piece that I'm going to take out next. But you can see why they call this a half nut. It's almost as if you took a really thick nut and sliced it right down the middle. But look at the gunk that's in there. That's a lot of that looks like grease now that I look at it. Again, I think somebody was thinking, hey, why oil it when you can grease it? Oh, in case you were wondering, I noticed that there's this little pin right here. This little pin right here that actually faces the top here. At first I thought it was a tube for oil. If it is so clogged. I think it is. I think that's actually a tube. I think oil's supposed to go down there and come out. It looks like there might be a little hole there. I clean these up with the parts cleaner. Parts washer, we'll be able to see. And that looks like there's a hole that it corresponds to there. Probably goes right up to someplace on the top here where you're supposed to put oil in, oil a half nut. Not grease. I'm not going to be able to take that piece out because the handle is on it and that handle is held in with a pin. So I'd have to drive the pin out. I'm not going to do that right now. Because I can actually clean that whole thing in the parts cleaner if I take the apron off of the saddle. Which I might just do that, but I remembered from my experience with the Hendy, I have to be wary of the drive gear for the cross feed. Alright, I think I'm going to get some blocks and lower this thing down. Alright, that's good enough for now because I'm going to take that compound off. Well, I can lose several pounds just by doing that. These shouldn't be too tight. Nope, they're not. It comes off just like your typical compound would come off. Here's the T-nuts, and there's a cutout area here, so if you bring the T-nuts over to that cutout area, they would drop out the bottom of this, but not until you've got this slide off of here. Unfortunately, I don't think I can get the slide off until I fully unthread the crossfeed screw. That wooden block is in the wrong spot. That's better. Should be able to. Well, that's actually engaged right now. That's the limit for the half nut. This must be. There we are. This is what controls the crossfeed. Oh, there's the little the little collar here that has the line on it for the dial to line up with is going to be in the way of this coming off this way. Yep. Alright. So that looks like it's just clamps on with a screwdriver. This screwdriver might be too big. There we go. Took the nut off the other side, so shouldn't that be able to unscrew all the way? There's something at the end there that's going to interfere with that. It goes through the gear, like maybe a piece of key stock or something. Nope, it doesn't look like it has anything on it. I guess it's just a little tight at the end there. There's probably some gunk on those threads. Now, if this was horizontal like on the lathe, when I pull this out, that gear would drop down. There's still going to be something that's going to stop that cross slide from coming off. Oh, I know what it is. It's the gear. That's right, the gear that's on this shaft, that's responsible for driving this shaft for the power cross feed, sticks up proud at the top of the apron here, and it's probably interfering with this. So I think at this point, there's a lot of oil coming out of here somewhere. Anyways, I think at this point, if I get these screws, if I get these big screws out, I can actually take the apron off the saddle. See if I can get this apart and down the bulkhead before it gets dark. Alright, so I got my little socket attachment here. Oh, there we go. That was pretty loose. Now, is there a fourth one? Doesn't look it. Could there be a fourth one hidden under here? I don't remember if Andy had one. Must be another one under there. There it is. Made sense that there'd be four. Two on each side. For those of you who have a problem with me using a hammer on this job, it's a lead hammer. Relax, for crying out loud. Hate when that happens. That second screw is just a hair longer. This screw that ends up being hidden by the slide right now is a hair longer than the first one. I'm taking these out left to right. Even that one looks different. I think maybe I better put those screws back in as soon as I get the saddle clear. There's a problem with working out here on the ground. I almost took this bracket off. I'm glad I didn't. Makes a nice little kickstand for this assembly. Alright, time to get the little red wagon. Hopefully I won't throw my back out. Of course, does he put the motorcycle back where I told him? No.